Hey everybody, it's Brittany, volunteer for the CRPS Warriors Foundation. I owe you a video. A couple weeks ago I had talked about maladaptive behaviors, and I described what they are, how they occur, and I'm going to recap a little bit on that and talk about how we can change those behaviors. So the recap is that the maladaptive behaviors are actually a coping mechanism. They're ways that we learn how to protect ourselves when we experience trauma or abuse or feeling emotionally invalidated. Some examples of these are numbing yourself emotionally, avoiding things, denial, procrastination, risky behavior. So these are actually really harmful. At first, they seem helpful because they're protecting us. We're not feeling all those things we don't want to feel. But in the long run, they actually are reinforcing those fears to make them harder to overcome later. They limit our social skills, so those become really rusty, and we can become even more anxious about social situations because we aren't able to adequately use our social skills anymore. So overall, this just really deteriorates completely your mental and physical health. So we're going to talk about some ways to overcome these. The first one is cognitive reconstructing. So this is just replacing the negative thoughts with more healthy and positive thoughts, and that will reduce the impact of the real or imagined events that we are dealing with. The next one is distraction. In a difficult situation, sometimes we can distract negative thoughts and urges if we listen to our favorite song, or if we learn some breathing techniques to calm ourselves, if we use meditation or mindfulness to put us here and now and not reliving that event. Another thing is thought stopping. Interrupt or break the cycle of the negative thoughts. This can help stop that panic mode that we can come into when all these thoughts just come flooding into our head and we don't want them there. One thing you can do, some people, you just need to say stop out loud. And for other people, it could be just snapping that rubber band. It gives you that little shock, like stop, reset your system a little bit. The next one is self-compassion. For this, we need to understand there's a difference between self-esteem and self-compassion. Self-esteem requires us to feel successful or to feel good about ourselves. We don't need that to have self-compassion. Example of self-compassion is that your dog loves you no matter what. To them, you're worthy no matter what. So that is what self-compassion is. The next one is coping statements. This is kind of like positive affirmations. It's just a set of coping statements that you can come up with ahead of time. That way you have your go-to. You know how you want to think about things. You know how you want to cope. And then we can repeat these over and over to ourselves. So repeating the positive statements can actually significantly impact your state of mind and your level of preparedness for what could happen. Openness is the next one. It's very important. We need to be very open-minded. We need to be able to approach challenges in an open way, and this leads us to be able to improve the way we handle stress. So these are just a couple things that I had found specifically of coping mechanisms that we can use to try and overcome these maladaptive behaviors that we have learned out of necessity for survival. It's important that if you do experience trauma, to try and work through those things because they're not going to go away. So the more aware you are of what you went through and can work through it and accept them and move on, if we never deal with the underlying problem, they're never really going to go away. Or they could resurface because we're going to still need to cope with something we haven't dealt with yet. And for CRPS warriors, being diagnosed and everything that you go through with the pain, the limitations, the mood changes and the depression due to all this, this is trauma. This is a traumatic event. It's life-changing. So this can happen with CRPS warriors. So it's just very important to be very self-aware and try to be not damaging of ourselves, because these behaviors in the end are really a lot more damaging than they are helpful. And they also push away people that do care about us. And warriors, you need your people. You really do. I'm going to put a website on in the video description is positivepsychology.com. They have a lot of worksheets and exercises on there that you can try, and lots of information about this. So I really encourage anyone that is struggling with this or would like more information or exercises, please head on over there and check it out. It's pretty awesome. And the last thing I want to include before I sign off for today is there was a clinical therapist that said problems are not the problem, coping is the problem. And I thought that's really good and accurate, but then I also thought about it and it kind of made me laugh because it's also a Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean quote when he said, "The problem is not the problem is your attitude about the problem." So this is just a universal thing that all the way down to entertainment is included and in a clinical setting.